Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, members, please turn on your cameras, at least for now. And I think we know your audio is working.
They are on, Chair.
Yes, I would say if this meeting threatens to go on for a long, close to 2 hours or longer, which I hope it won't, but if it does, then I'll call a break around about an hour and a half in. That's a 5 or 10 minute break. So welcome everybody to the online meeting of RBKC's licensing subcommittee, and thank you for attending. I'm Councillor Dory Schmetterling, as it happens, member for Pembridge Ward, just across the road, across Notting Hill Gate, and I'll be chairing this meeting. It is being held via Microsoft Teams, and it is also being streamed live. The committee for this hearing comprises Councillor Janet Evans, Councillor Pat Healy, and me. And councillors, could you please briefly introduce yourselves and make any declarations of interest in alphabetical order? Councillor Evans, bless you.
Yes, hello. Thank you. I'm a councillor for Courtfield Ward. I have no declarations of interest, but I have been in the hospitality industry for 25 years.
Thank you. Councillor Healy.
Good morning, Chair, and everybody else. I'm Councillor Pat Healy. I represent Dalgarno Ward. I have no interest in this hearing to declare, although I do know the area very well because I am a frequent shopper and diner in Notting Hill Gate.
Thank you, Councillor Healy. I'm very pleased to hear that. I also have no declaration of interest, but I do walk around Hillgate Village every now and then for various reasons, and I cycle through it. We are joined by Fiona Johnson from the Council's licensing team, and our legal officer today is Ms. Lindsay Le Mazurier. Also with us is our committee officer, Tom McColgan, and he will be monitoring all of our connections and help with any technical issues we may have. He is supported by Gareth Ebenezer and Yasmin Jama. Before we start the formal hearing, just a few ground rules. Please do keep your microphones off until you're invited to speak. And please make sure, of course, that mobile phones are on silent. Do keep your cameras on when not speaking if you wish, unless we run into connection problems, and then we may have to request everybody to turn their cameras off. Please note that the Microsoft Teams chat function is not monitored, so please do not use it. In addition, this is a public meeting and the chat would not be seen in the live stream. Everyone should have received procedure for this meeting regarding the use of cameras and how to connect back. And I think most of us have experienced being disconnected briefly. So if you lose the connection, thank you. The case before us today is to vary a license for Kuro Coffee at 3 Hillgate Street, London, W8 7SP. First, we will elect a substitute chair in case I get cut off for too long. The quorum of this committee is 2. So I'm nominating Councillor Pat Healy to be appointed as the substitute chair. Members, please confirm whether this nomination is seconded. First of all, Councillor Healy, you agree to stand, and then Councillor Evans, if you're willing to second. Councillor Healy, you agree to stand?
Yes, I am willing to stand. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. I confirm that Councillor Healy has been appointed substitute chair. Thank you, colleagues. For clarity, I will outline the procedure of the meeting, which, as already mentioned, has been circulated with the papers and are online. First, the licensing officer, Ms. Johnson, will give a brief outline of the application. Please confirm you're here, Ms. Johnson.
I am here, Chairman. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Then I'll ask the applicant, and here I will ask him, I think I can pronounce his surname, but because it's Afrikaans or Dutch or something, could you, Mr. Jacob van Nieuwkoop, could you please confirm the correct, I presume I can see you're here, so what is the correct pronunciation of your surname?
I must say, Chairman, it's a very commendable attempt. I mean, it's, thank you.
Sounds like you have a Dutch accent, so it must be the Dutch version.
I've been here 20 years. I'm Dutch and still haven't lost my accent, but it's Jacob van Nieuwkoop. But call me Jacob by any means, Chairman. That's much easier.
That's okay. Thank you. Let's try that. Van Nieuwkoop. Thank you. You will then present your submission later, and you will have up to a maximum of 10 minutes to do so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Questions then will be asked by members of the committee of you, and questions may be asked by the objector if he does turn up by then. Although to be fair, you should hear your submission beforehand. Well then, if the objector turns up, we don't know yet because it's now 11 minutes past 10, the objector may present his objection up to a maximum of 10 minutes. Well, let's check. Mr. van Neufeld, are you here? Or Neufeld, as one may pronounce. No, okay. After this, we will ask our legal officer, Ms. Le Mazurier, to deal with any questions she may have, for example, regarding any conditions. And Ms. Le Mazurier, please confirm your attendance.
Present, Chair.
Yep, thank you. I could see you, but just making sure that your system is working. Then we will turn to the governance team to see if any issues have been raised that we need to consider. There will be no summing up and the meeting will end. I would like to remind everyone that the committee has read the papers, which comprise the main pack, and the additional submissions from the applicant and the objector, which have been circulated by email. So there's no need to repeat their content. But please do draw our attention to certain points and pages, and Yasmin will move the document on the screen for us. Okay, so Ms. Johnson, could you please outline the case for us? Thanks.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Today's application has been submitted by Curo Coffee Limited for the variation of a premises licence at 3 Hillgate Street, W8 7SP. The premises currently trades with a premises licence which permits the following licensable activities: sell by retail of alcohol on the premises only, Monday to Sunday, from 1600 until 2300. This application proposes to add off-sales of alcohol to the current licence and to restrict those off-sales of alcohol to customers seated at tables and chairs on the private frontage immediately opposite the premises. In other words, the external area bordering the premises' main elevation facing Hillgate Street. A summary of the additional activities and timing sought can be found on pages 1 and 2 of today's agenda. I can confirm that this application has attracted a representation from a local resident. A summary of this representation can be found at page 2, and the full representation can be found at page 22, Appendix C. Council records show that at the time this report was written, the premises had received no noise complaints over the preceding 24-month period. Council records also indicate that no temporary event notices had been submitted over the preceding 24-month period. That concludes the summary of today's application, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Van Nieuwkoop, please make your submission, and you have 10 minutes, up to 10 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much, councillors and other council staff, for making the time for making this hearing happen just before Christmas. I'm the managing director of Curo Coffee. I'm a resident of Hillgate Village for the last 15 years. I live in Calcutta Street. I own multiple businesses on Notting Hill Gate. Lots of people know me. I employ lots of people. Lots of people who are local are my customers. We opened this coffee shop 6 months ago, which is actually going very well. I'm very grateful. We have submitted an alcohol license, which was kindly granted by the committee, and now we're here for a variation for our tiny little forecourt. The forecourt has room for 2 benches where 6 to 8 people can sit, where they're used now for people having their coffee, and we were hoping for people to have a glass of wine. There's no more space than 6 to 8 people to sit there. We are outside the village. We are much more against Notting Hill Gate. Then we're not inside the village like a pub or certain restaurants are. We don't think we will add substantially to the noise at all, right? And being a local resident, I'm sure if something, God forbid, goes wrong, people know where to go and where I am. That is basically my submission. I've taken knowledge from the proposed conditions by the legal officer. I think that is all really very much okay. I have 2 things to say with regards to the additional suggested conditions by the council legal officer. Other premises, other hospitality premises, do not have a dedicated telephone number, right? Nor are they convening biannually meetings for the residents. I'm not aware of that, and I've been a resident for more than 15 years within the village and the Hillgate pub. And as a matter of fact, my office is on the first floor of the Hillgate pub, and my house sticks in the back end of the Hillgate pub. I've never been invited for a meeting by the Hillgate pub, nor by the Marzi restaurant chain. So I would kindly ask the committee to consider the maybe disproportionate measures in comparison to other hospitality venues within the village. This comprises my submission, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much for the time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Van Nieuwkoop. Are there any questions from my fellow members?
Yeah.
Councillor Evans?
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. Can you talk us through your business model, what you're planning to do there? Because it's not exactly clear. And you say that you were just going to have the benches outside. You're not planning to put tables. I'm a little confused. And tell me, what are you planning to do in there? Is it going to be a bar set up? Are you going to have just wine? Beer? What is your intention, please?
It's a pre-prandial aperitif wine bar. It has no beer, no other drinks besides 2 types of soft drinks and 6 types of wine. That's it.
So no coffee? No coffee?
No, coffee will stop to be served at 5 o'clock, right? People can come for a glass of wine. Currently, we close at 9 o'clock, right? I have no intention to operate after 9 o'clock, but I would like to have the possibility that the license extends to 11. It is very low key. The forecourt, councillor, has currently 2 benches and 2 small tables. The forecourt is 1 meter wide and about 4 meters long, 5 meters long.
Right.
It's tiny, and it's opposite the theatre on Hillgate Street, who operates also a wine bar and as part of the theatre setup, and next to the restaurant on number 1 Hillgate Street, who also has a tiny forecourt. That's it. It is very tiny and very innocent and very small.
Will you have crisps or something to soak up the alcohol? Some snacks?
We are selling charcuterie, and we are with every drink people get 3 salted almonds and 2 slices of bread with some wonderful olive oil, free with every glass of wine.
Okay, very good.
There's also water available, right? Deliveries are done during the daytime. We will sweep the streets like we do now. We are part of the community. My business is part of the community, and we need to play ball with the community. If I'm a nuisance to the community, the business model will fail, and the business as a result will fail.
Right. Thank you very much.
Hopefully that answers your questions, Councillor.
It does. Yes, I was trying to envision what you're doing there.
Councillor Healy?
Sorry, did you call me, Chair?
I did.
Sorry,
do you want to say anything? Ask anything?
I do, actually. Thank you for your answers to Councillor Evans. They do help to clarify things a little bit. But I'm still unsure as to how this operation is going to work. Will you have a counter that is outside the premises, or will people have to go inside in order to order for an off-sale?
People have to go inside to order. So the coffee bar, what normally serves the coffee, will be cleared out, and we will serve wine from there. So there will be no bar outside. There will be nothing else outside what is already outside during the day, which is 2 benches and 2 little stools where people can put their drinks on.
2 benches and 2 stools.
And a dog bowl for water.
You said 2 benches, 2 stools, but earlier you said that the maximum capacity would be 6 to 8 people. Does that mean that only 2 of them would be able to sit and the rest would have to stand?
No, if I talk 6 to 8 people, all those people can sit on those respective 2 benches. So the benches are about 2 meters long.
You regard the benches as seating?
I beg your pardon?
You regard the benches as seating?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. That's clear.
The benches are portable and are lifted inside the premises every day once we close. Okay. So there will be no furniture left, nothing. It will be completely clear during the night time. Everything will be inside and locked up properly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Well, I have some questions. First of all, to follow on from Councillor Healy, regarding the capacity outside, as you have said yourself, the forecourt is very narrow. on your pavement license application, which I know was declined, you do show an arrangement for the forecourt, and it looks like 2 tables and 4 chairs. And I'm not, so I just want to double check how you propose to get to 8. Sense may not matter in normal times, but I'm also thinking how you get there in normal times, and particularly considering that we will be asked to keep our distance again. We already are, but it could become legal. So how do you propose to get up to 8 people in that small area seated?
Well, if the social distancing becomes legal, that means that the wine operation needs to close full stop. We can't have that inside, we can't have that outside. So that is very straightforward. There's no consideration.
How would you get 6 people outside unless you have a chair at right angles to the pavement?
You can see it every day. Those 2 benches are fitting under the windows. They're standing next to one another, and people sit there next to one another having their coffee, like it happens every day.
Oh,
it is. Well,
sorry, I went past it last night and there was nothing to see. So you're saying that actually the benches are wide, the seating benches or the seats to sit on are wide enough for 2 people.
They're wide enough for 4 people, right, next to one another, or even or 3 people per bench, or 4 people per bench, and then the rest of the forecourt, their legs are there. There's no room for people to stand or any other tables or whatsoever. It's very similar to Mazi, if you're familiar with the restaurant. Their little strip in front of the restaurant, further down the street.
Yeah, no, I don't remember their outside seating. No, it's just looking at the drawing that you submitted, that each table 4 chairs, excuse me. But anyway, to me it looks like two tables and 4 chairs, and it says so. Even the description says external 2 tables, 4 chairs within the Curo coffee frontage. What it says in the drawing submitted.
That could be the current setup is 2 benches, and there is room for 6 to 8 people, either with 2 tables and 4 chairs or on 2 benches. But there is no more room for any more people.
Okay, so the drawing that's shown is only one possibility, is what you're saying.
I was not aware that the architect. I think that drawing still comes back to trying to get the license for the pavement box, right? But it is true that in the tiny forecourt we're having, there is no more room for 6 to 8 people to have a consumption.
Okay, thank you very much. At the moment, how do you manage the clearing of tables and chairs if you close at 11? And I think you said somewhere in the report that you'll have your furniture cleared by 11. How do you manage that to keep the noise down? I mean, how is that managed?
There is no noise because 2 members of staff will lift the bench and carry it inside, which we have been doing since we opened the business in June. And as I think the councillor stated, there have been no complaints whatsoever.
Right. I mean, I must say, we have noted that there are actually no complaints from anyone very close to your premises.
Thank you. Come back, Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Healy. Yes, sure.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, you may already refer to this, but I'd like to know whether you serve any kind of proper meals. I mean, you've talked about snacks that will be available free of charge to people drinking wine, but do you actually produce meals as such, or is it simply all snacks?
It's simply all snacks. We don't produce any meals.
Thank you.
All right. It just occurs to me, Mr. van Nieuwkoop, that if you become a wine bar, do you not? Well, that's not outside. It's outside the remit of the licensing committee. But doesn't that need planning permission?
We went through the entire.
You have a planning permission to be a wine bar.
I need to go back to the original planning, but the architect and the planning consultant were very much aware that this is our intention. I need to check, but as far as I'm aware, we have all the rules and regulations in place as per the alcohol license. And this is just for the variation for the forecourt.
Okay, just so you're saying you have planning. I mean, as I said, it's outside the room, but just for the record, you do have planning consent to become a wine. Because I think there's no consent required to go from previous retail to coffee shop. There's no requirement.
We did a change of use. Change of use with the council, right? We went through the entire process, right?
Oh, okay,
to change.
Okay.
We did all of that, and we did pre-planning advice. We worked with the council that for the change of use, right? So we are completely compliant with the council's rules and regulations.
Right. So you did get consent. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. I'm just wondering, you see, I appreciate that you are not so close to the other residential properties, but sound can echo down the streets, which, as you know, I mean, you live there, I think, or you've got your office there, so you know how narrow it all is, and it could echo down the street. So I'm just wondering whether on Sundays you'd be willing to stop outside sales by 10 p.m.
Yes, I will. If that helps. Councillors, Chairman, I have no intention to upset my neighbours. On the contrary, this is a place what needs to work for the community and with the community. My other businesses do exactly the same. So if I antagonize in any shape or form my neighbours, we have failed. Completely and utterly failed.
All right, thank you. And you would manage the removal of tables and chairs by the time sales stop, because I'm just thinking whether 2,300 or 2,200, you've got one or more people sitting there at let's say 10 minutes before the end. I don't know how long it would take you to clear the chairs, but I'm guessing 10, 15 minutes at most, given it's not so many. You'll have people sitting outside potentially, maybe not when it's so cold and dark, but later in the year, next year when it gets warmer again, you could have people sitting there till the last minute, enjoying the whatever it is. And how would you manage that? Also, to bring tables and chairs inside when you're still operating inside, because I'm talking about Sunday outside at the moment, because you have a license already to sell inside. We don't touch
the
that.
Would be to stop serving about 30 minutes before closing time, right? And the idea would be that because my staff needs to go home too, it's not fair. So before everything is clean and done on the inside, so if we say 11 o'clock, we will stop serving alcohol at 10:30, and everything is locked up inside by 11, and then we clean inside, close the door, and go home. So,
right. That means. Sorry, go on.
It will be very well managed in the sense that we can't have people lingering on and, let's say, order a bottle of wine 5 minutes to 11. That's not going to happen.
Right. So you could, in fact, yes, we're proposing to stop sales outside at 2,200 on Sundays. Doesn't mean you have to clear the furniture. The furniture should be cleared by 11, let's say, so that you can take it inside.
Will be cleared once we have cleaned the floor.
Stop selling at 22:30. Okay.
That's fine. But Sunday, that's fine.
Okay, so you effectively it's half an hour drinking up time.
If that would help the committee to make a positive decision to restrict operating hours on a Sunday to 10:30, that would be absolutely fine with me.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm just thinking it's outside sales that should be ended. The suggestion is to end it at 2,200. And then how you manage the table to remove the furniture. If you remove it quietly, I don't think there's any, there may not, we have to discuss it, of course, but I'm not sure there's a big problem if you wait till everybody else has gone from inside. You've gone from inside before you take furniture in. I mean, it's not sensible to take furniture in when you've got people inside.
That's not what we're doing. But on the other side, at 11 o'clock, the theater is emptying with lots of people. The Korean restaurant is still full throttle. The delivery engines in front of Feng Sushi are running up and down like mosquitoes. My 2 benches are not adding a colossal amount of pressure, especially when it's lifted by 2 people to be moved inside. There is a sense of order, I presume.
Okay.
We don't do takeaway. We don't do delivery. We don't have people coming in on engines, on motorcycles. We don't do all that.
Yeah, understood.
If some colleagues are adding substantially to the noise levels in our village by operating all this takeaway business, for example.
Yeah. Councillor Healy and I should take a walk around there. We should have a date at 22:30, 2300 and walk around the village to see what it's like.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to now address sorry, Ms. Mazuria, you would like to say something?
Yes, there's just a general question in relation to the drinking up. I am conscious that this is a variation and it's for the off sales, but I just wondered what the applicant thought about having a drinking up condition which would apply to the on and off sales, which basically would say consumption of alcohol on the premises would cease and the premises will close to patrons and patrons to be off the premises 30 minutes after the end of permitted hours for the sale of retail on the premises. Would he be prepared to have a condition which reflects what he's just said? 30 minutes drinking up time, then off the premises.
So that means that everybody's out of the premises by 11.
Let's have a quick look. Yes, so you would, obviously you've got on sales till, I think it's 11 o'clock at the moment. Yeah. So you would, the 30 minutes will be before then, and they'd have to be off the premises by 11, I guess.
That's fine. Any alcohol after 22:30 and people have to drink up and leave by 11, that is absolutely fine. I have no problems with that at all.
Okay, so you're okay with the drinking up condition for on and off sales?
Yes, because I don't listen. If people want to, let's say, overindulge, they need to go to the pub. They don't need to be with me. Is for a glass of champagne before dinner, and then you go home, or a glass of white wine in the sun. Yeah. If you want to, pardon me, dance the conga line in the streets, being very merry and jolly, I am not the right venue for that. You need to go somewhere else.
Okay, lovely.
Does that make sense?
That does. Thank you. We can discuss this in the private session.
And that would be then an hour earlier on Sundays, or half an hour. Yeah, same would. I'm just thinking how to manage the Sunday early closing outside, but it doesn't matter because the furniture would still be removed. Could remove it when inside closes, so it doesn't matter actually.
So the drinking up condition we wouldn't change the terminal hour for the drink for the on sales, but basically you'd have to make sure the patrons are off the premises within 30 minutes.
Yeah. On Sunday, on Sundays the off sales would cease at 2200, but the furniture wouldn't have to be removed because inside they're still going. I mean, just for convenience of the applicant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense, Mr. Van Nieuwkoop?
That makes sense, and if that helps the committee to make a positive decision, I will be very happy to comply with those conditions.
I mean, I mean, I have to say regarding your comment about the DPS and the meetings. Sorry, my own numbers. I forgot to do this. Just bear with me a second. Right. Turn my phone off. Apologies. So that was quite an important one, but still. as you know, we treat each application on its own merits, and because other premises do or don't have certain things, is only to a certain extent or to no extent, perhaps, for various reasons. So having a, I don't know why the other premises don't have DPS phone numbers available to the public, but I would say that's pretty important. And
conditions, Chair.
Pardon? It is in the conditions, but Mr. Van Nieuwkoop was saying that was querying why that was necessary, because other people don't have it. Isn't that right, Mr. Van Nieuwkoop? That's what you said.
That's correct. I walked this morning around in the village in the other hospitality venues. I can't see any of the pubs or any of the restaurants displaying a phone number in case there is trouble or nuisance or noise, or being a resident for more than 15 years, being invited to a biannual meeting to have to issue any complaints or remarks with regards to operating the premises. I'm not aware of any of it.
Right. Well, this is this is what I was referring to. So if you are expecting to cause no trouble, which is what what you're all expecting, of course, hoping and expecting, then issuing a DPS number, which I think is yours, because I think you're the DPS as well, shouldn't cause you any problems because nobody will ever ring it. So
that is, but the premises doesn't have a phone number at the moment. It will be my personal mobile phone number, right? Or it needs to be the office phone number. That is fine, but there's nobody here after 5 o'clock. I can do either way, but this can't be a 24-hour thing that I'm on call. That's not. That is.
DPS,
I know there's.
The DPS phone.
You're breaking down. I can't hear you.
Should only be rung during operating hours. It should not be rung.
I know,
pardon?
But the phone number will be there 24 hours for everybody to see. The phone number will be there to see for everybody for 24 hours. It takes one drunken fool to start ringing me at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? I don't think it's fair.
Except if there's a fire. What if there's a fire? Somebody has to call you.
We have an alarm system for fire and burglary. It's a
I do have a suggestion, but let Miss Johnson make a point first.
She's still muted.
Right.
Thank you, Chairman. It's just a quick question to the applicant. I think you mentioned that coffee sales would cease at 5 o'clock, and then we had a short. That's right. And then we had a short discussion regarding planning, and you believe that your planning consultant and your architect didn't think that any further permission was needed. Do you know if our planning department was made aware that coffee sales would cease at 5?
I do not know. I have to check. My normally this call would be with my planning consultant, but he's indisposed, right? I need to check.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I'd like to make a point as well.
Councillor Healy.
The fact that
then Mr. Mazurier.
Sorry, I'll start again. The fact that the applicant hasn't seen a display of a telephone number on various premises doesn't mean that they haven't got that as a condition of their licence. It may just mean that he hasn't spotted it or they haven't put it up in the right place.
I agree. I concur. I really concur. But I have checked and I have asked, right? I know all these people. I live here, right?
Yeah.
They are not aware of it. And the phone number might be the easy bit, but to convene a bi-annual meeting with minutes and invites to local resident associations and so on. I mean, I'm a tiny little forecourt in a tiny little place. I'm very happy to do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just asking, is it proportionate?
Fair enough.
Okay, thanks.
I'm very happy to
Misery.
comply, but I'm just asking for proportion. That's all I'm asking.
Thank you very much. Mr. Missouri, your hand is up.
Okay,
Are
sorry, I
you
just wanted to
unmuted?
clarify that my understanding is, but obviously planning would have to check, a wine bar is a sui generis use, and obviously I can't say for sure, but I would imagine you would need planning permission for a change of use from a cafe to a wine bar. So I think that's something you need to bear in mind. Obviously, it's under a separate statutory regime, but I would urge you to check that out.
I'm grateful. Certainly will. Thank you.
Okay, and I think when we get to the conditions session, we can go over all these like DPS telephone numbers and things like that. When
Okay. Okay, thank you. Well, Mr. Van Nieuwkoop, this is exactly what I was trying to say. You have consent, you thought you did, but I think it's wise to check. Although, as was said, it is, and I said, and a legal officer said it's a separate regime. You still need to make sure that you have the planning permission to convert to a wine bar at 5 o'clock or whatever it is. The planning change of use regulations they change, obviously, as you know, not so long ago, but there are still certain requirements. Okay, I just want to go back to the DPS phone number question. I said I have a suggestion. I mean, I don't know whether you considered it to avoid, getting your 24-hour phone calls. Is that if you don't already have one, is to get a dual SIM mobile phone and stick a separate SIM off. That just makes a practical suggestion if you haven't thought of it. You'll be open for 24 hours. I wouldn't want to get you to get calls at 3 o'clock in the morning. But that's just a suggestion.
Thank you for your suggestion.
Okay. But I got a very cheap phone. It's dual SIM. How about that? I wasn't looking for one, but it was a useful addition when I went abroad just before the pandemic. Anyway, regarding things like the meetings with residents, we can, when we come to the conditions, we can discuss that. But it occurs to me, whether it was proportional, it could become sort of twice a year, it could be once a year or something like that. Of course, if you send an invitation out, and the question is to whom, let's say only the RA, and you have a very active RA in the village, I don't know whether you're a member of it, you might be, just to send it to them. And if nobody turns up to give a meeting, that's the end of that then, meeting. So it doesn't mean you have to have a meeting with minutes every time, because no one comes to the meeting. There's nothing.
I understand, but
nobody can.
I mean, the pub outside has 10 tables here, has, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 people outside drinking till whatever. My house sticks in the back of the pub, right? I know all the people who live around the pub, they're my neighbors. Nobody is aware of a meeting to be convened for people to express how the pub is operating or not. Or the Marzi restaurant, or the Uxbridge pub, or Los Mochis, or the theatre for that matter. I mean, I ask permission to sit 6 to 8 people on a tiny little forecourt of Notting Hill Gate, and I'm to convene 2 biannual meetings. I find it really disproportionate in comparison to the other hospitality venues.
All right, well, thank you for that. We will consider that, as you say, the proportionality of that, and it could be, say, once a year. And again, this case, we're not the other premises. We'd have to look at their license and so on. I don't know the backgrounds of why things are as they are. We are only looking at this particular case. And the other thing is, we want to ask you is if you'd be willing to consider, let's say, if we're minded to grant, more or less as is, or with some conditions we've discussed, and we will be discussing them further on when our legal officer goes through them, the possibility of having a one to test the public opinion. And clearly, if there's no complaints or one minor one, I don't know, it's not for me to say, but if it runs well, which of course we all expect it to, then you can come back in a year's time and ask for the license again, and then we can decide to make it permanent. What would you think of that as a possibility? This is very little effort. Very little.
Could be a temporary license to serve alcohol outside.
And
you break up a little.
Would also reassure any problem. Yes.
I can't hear you.
Pardon?
You're breaking up a little bit,
Yes,
Chairman. I'm sorry.
Temporary for our. Yes, sorry. Could you repeat what you said?
I think the chair's asking you whether you're willing to have a temporary 1-year license for the outside off sales.
Of course, I'm willing to consider that, but can we please, again, this is an objection from a gentleman who is not even close to the premises, based on some study that noise might carry further people inebriated with alcohol, right? And we're talking about 6 to 8 people if they're sitting outside. To extend a temporary permission, of course, I'm grateful for that. But is that really the right call? I mean, it's not like I'm running a pumping nightclub. It's a tiny little pre-prandial wine bar, which I think adds to the overall enjoyment of living in Notting Hill Village. I live there myself. I would drink there myself.
Well, I'm glad to hear you drink in your own bar.
I do. You're very welcome to join me, all of you. Come and be my guest. You're very welcome.
Thank you. Well, perhaps that'll be part of the date that Councillor Healy and I have to walk around checking out the Korean restaurant and all the courier bicycles running around.
Yeah.
Okay. I think, well, obviously we'll take into consideration everything that's been said. And anyway, it's been recorded, so we can always review that. Fellow councillors, is there anything else we should raise at this point before we move on to looking at the detailed conditions? Okay. All right, so let's move on now to the next section. I guess, well, the applicant
will discuss
everything. So with Mr. Mazurier, have you got anything to add? Or maybe we should ask, first of all, the licensing officers and governance, and then we can, or which way do you want to do it? Shall we go through the conditions first, Mr. Mazurier?
I think we should.
We need to go through the conditions, yes.
Let's do that then, okay.
Can governance put the conditions on the screen, please? Thank you. Right, so Mr. Van Newcombe, in relation to the conditions, so the first one, I think there was an ambiguous existing condition. The wording was, there was like a typo. Are you happy for us to just amend that? The red wording?
That is absolutely fine. So that is fine.
Thank you. Okay, so in going down, I think you've obviously put forward suggestions in your operating schedule, and I've changed them into 3 conditions. So number 19, the words in red, are you happy with this wording? So sorry, just stepping back one moment, you're happy to have a drinking up condition in relation to the on sales. We've discussed that just now. You're happy with that. So in relation to this condition, are you happy with the sale by retail off the premises shall be restricted to the external front court area, and for the avoidance of doubt, there shall be no off sales as part of a takeaway, collection or delivery service. Are you happy with that?
That is absolutely fine. Thank you.
Thank you. And then if we jump to number 21, because I've combined some of your other ones, like number 20 has been incorporated in other ones. 21. Now, the external front forecourt area shall be kept clear of all customers between, and I think you've suggested between 11 p.m. and 7 o'clock the following day. I don't know if the councillors have any thoughts here. I know you said 2200 on Sundays, I believe. Any other thoughts here?
Oh, why do you need 7 o'clock?
That's when he opens, I believe.
And lots of people have their morning coffee at 7 o'clock in the morning sun. You should try it.
So
It's
you'll
nice.
be a coffee bar then at that time. I see.
Yeah. And every morning there are 3 or 4 people, mothers with babies, people go to school, get their coffee, and it's a really nice bus. It's a happy place.
Okay, thank you.
But you're happy with Sunday being 2,200 hours and
Absolutely fine.
okay. Councillors, any other questions on that one? That condition?
No.
No, it's fine.
Okay, and then if we whiz down to 24, please.
Sorry, you're adjusting 23, yes?
Not 23. I think
Yeah, I can see
the
it.
applicant made loads of statements, and I've kind of combined them into 3 kind of conditions in this section here.
Okay, fine.
So number 24, I appreciate some thoughts here. The outside tables and chairs shall be rendered unusable by X time and removed from the external front court by what time? So do you want them to be out of action earlier, or are you happy for them to tie in with the requested hours outside?
For me, it's very simple. I can only have the furniture be carried in once we are clear of customers on the inside.
Understood.
Right. So, and there are portable benches. They are lifted by 2 people and go up the stair. It's very simple. It will not cause any noise or any hassle, but it's a very tiny place, as you can see from the drawings. So if I have that furniture on the floor, the customers need to go out first.
Are there 2 portable benches there now then? There's no tables, it'd just be 2 portable benches, is that correct?
That's correct.
Right, and they're in situ now?
They're in situ now.
Okay,
You can see them every day when you pass.
Okay, so basically you can't bring them in until obviously people have left the premises on the inside.
Exactly, but
rendering them unusable could be turning them upside down, or I mean, I don't know what the councillor's thoughts are here.
we can put them on the side if that makes everybody happy, but it is such a tiny operation. I beg you, it is really very small. And if we stop serving alcohol at 10:30, drinking alcohol is 10:30, so the premise is clear at 11, right? That should all work very smoothly.
Yeah, so you bring in the tables at 2,300 is what you're saying.
Or 22
Yes.
days.
Well, it can't be 22:30 because the customers have just stopped drinking.
No.
And
But it ties into the end of hours. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how do you phrase that. I mean, it's reasonable that if you're small, you can't bring in the tables and chairs. There's people inside. So how would you? I mean, I was thinking about that during the discussion earlier, but now that we're actually come to the detail, how do we specify that? Just, that the tables and chairs are rendered unusable. Well, that's the key thing. And then,
well, it's up to you whether you want them rendered unusable at an earlier time. Obviously, you've got to decide, obviously, in the private session, what time the off sales will terminate, and then whether you think that the benches can stay in situ and be rendered usable up until the terminal hour, or whether you want them turned upside down or done something to them to prevent them being used before then. That's up to you to consider.
I mean, just thinking, I mean, it's obviously in the presence of Mr. Van Nieuwkoop that it's the Sunday one where they stop selling earlier outside, but you can't remove the tables and you can't put them inside because there's people inside. That's it's fair enough that you can't. So I don't know, if you left the tables and chairs outside, people could still go there and sit there even if they're not customers. So can they be as was suggested, Mr. Van Nieuwkoop, could you turn them, assuming we go down this path, could you make them unusable or somehow, as you say, move them to one side or whatever?
If you really want to, I can put them on the side, right?
Mm-hmm. Take 2 minutes to do.
Example, they're now currently used sometimes in the evening by all the kitchen staff of all the adjoining restaurants. We sit there, right? And if we won't give them the bench to sit on, they will sit on the pavement, on the sidewalk, at all sort of places. They're not my customers. They're just people working in the area. So I think we're actually providing a service by people that have a place to sit. not necessarily my customers.
Okay. Well, I suppose we could just not bother about it on the early close on Sundays. We'll consider that, because one option would be just take a chance and say just leave the furniture till 11, till the clearance of till you close.
There will be. I can put it on the side. I can put it upside down if that makes
but it's the point.
Happy. I can do that.
Staff are using it to sit quietly. Yeah, we'll consider. That's not.
It's the staff from the restaurant next door. It's the kitchen porters from Azi. They use it.
Missouri, how would you want to? What's your suggestion for handling moving the furniture? When everything stops at 2300.
Sorry, so 2300 is when on sales stop Monday to Sunday, and obviously that will be the suggestion for Monday to Saturday on the off sales.
But you've got to move the furniture. The furniture outside cannot really be removed
until
300.
Exactly.
Even on Sundays, because there's nowhere to put it. So what would you? So there'd be a single way of dealing with it from 2300, regardless of the day of the week. So
stacking the benches on top of each other. Could you stack the benches? Stack the benches on top?
No. But the removal. Do we say must be removed by 23:15, or how do you propose to handle that? Or we just leave it open?
Let's think that through in the private session, shall we? I can't.
Okay.
Right. If I might add also, Mazi and the pub and the Uxbridge have all the furniture outside 24 hours, right? Not being disabled, or the table's not even on their side. Everybody does what they want clearly there. I'm very happy to play ball. I'm very happy to be compliant. I'm just putting it out there.
And that's the pub you're talking about?
Yes, I am. And Mazi and the Uxbridge Arms and Los Mochis. If you walk in the village, I have 4 dogs. I walk them at night. I'm telling you, there are no punters sitting there, but the furniture is not disabled.
Okay. Right, let's move on. So condition 25 you proposed about the ashtrays being provided. So you're obviously happy with that condition?
We have them already. There are ashtrays for our.
Lovely. 26. This is what I've suggested. So the sale by retail off the premises shall only be sold. Now, this is what I want your comments on, by waiter or waitress service for consumption by customers seated outside at the external front court area. Now, I know you said you're happy for your customers to be seated at tables, but what's your view on waiter or waitress service?
We don't have waiter or waitress service. People have to come in themselves, get a glass of wine and walk out and sit.
Okay.
Get
wine. Okay. Councillors, do you have any comments on that?
No.
I do.
No.
I think you don't need this here because, as the gentleman says, that the people will be going in for their drinks. So putting this in just makes it. You're putting in something that's not going to work.
Okay.
They don't have waiter service.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the original 26 sounds like it is a good starting point.
So just keep the by waiter or waitress service omitted. Keep that bit out, but the rest of the condition's fine. Is that okay, Mr. Van Newcop?
Yes, that is absolutely fine.
Okay, lovely.
It's just slight rephrase of the original. Yeah, okay.
Pretty much, yeah. So now we're going to go to the 3 additional conditions I suggested. Now, I know we've had a discussion about residents' meetings and dedicated telephone numbers. These are all standard conditions. They're not tailored for these premises. These are standard conditions that we generally put on most premises. So you weren't keen on having the condition 27. Can you just recap why? Because not just because the other premises don't have it, but what's the issue with having a telephone number so people can complain if need be?
I will tell you, I'm very keen to be compliant with the council's rules and regulations. I'm very keen to be part of the community. So if it takes a dedicated phone number, fine, we will have a dedicated phone number. I have no problems with that at all. From a practical point of view, if you expect me to be on call 24 hours, that if something happens, that's not going to happen. I need to be able to sleep, right? So the phone number.
During the operation of the license, and it's for the DPS or the duty manager, so it won't necessarily be you.
Fine. I run multiple businesses within the block. I'm telling you, there's always something. but fine. So if it is just during the operation of the wine bar that somebody needs to be available if there is a nuisance or a complaint, is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
The condition says during the operation of the license. That's the hours
Fine.
that you need. Yeah.
We will put a phone number visible from the window or the door, right, where people can call.
Lovely, thank you.
And you know, that's why I said you can have a dual SIM phone and switch. Make sure that you can, you know, the number that you use for the public, you know, is inaccessible after the license hours. But if you're going to have possibly somebody else, of course, in your place at some point, then clearly just a separate handset, which you can buy for 50 quid will do.
Lovely. Right, moving on to 28. Are you happy with the litter sweep at the end of the day condition?
Every day. I mean, how can I operate a hospitality business? My neighbors will kill me. Of course we're doing that.
Okay, lovely, that's good. And then the final condition, this is the residents meeting one. Councillors, what's your view?
I can tell you, I have residents meetings every day. I live here, I walk my dogs. There's not a day go by, people don't talk to me. I employ their kids in my dog business. I am the village. People know me. But if you want me to do 2 meetings, I will do 2 meetings. Hey ho, all good.
Well, I was going to ask, can it be 2 possibilities, or we say once a year, or can we say if requested? So if the residents come along and request a meeting, fine. How do we word that? Because I understand this is a bit difficult to have 2 meetings a year. It's not going to happen.
Okay, so Mr. Van Nieuwkoop, are you happy with 1 meeting a year rather than 2?
I like the suggestion from the councillor on a requested meeting. I think that would be very good. I want to emphasize that I wish to be compliant with all rules and regulations. So I have no wish to be obstructionate or in any way controversial. But I think a requested meeting would be an acceptable way forward.
Yeah,
And they'll have his phone number. So, I mean,
I think there's
if they want to meet with him, they can request it. I mean, if it's an individual, they can walk into the bar and talk to him. So it's a question of whether a residents association wants to meet with him or not.
We are part of the residents association. I run 3 other businesses for the last 15 years. Everybody knows at 11A Calcutta Street. Everybody knows my 4 dogs, right? I mean, if you want something from me, you know where to find me. Trust me.
Well, I think it is an interesting suggestion that Councillor Evans made, but I think the difficulty with that is that in theory, you could
We can't hear you, Dory.
ask for a meeting, you know, every 6 weeks. It's a guy who's got a problem when they meet Mr. Van Nieuwkoop and discuss it. But I think I would say a morphment would be from a licensing point of view.
Well, you could have 1 meeting a year and then no one shows up. That's fine.
Exactly. That's what most people do, I think.
Exactly.
Your suggestion of once a year maybe would be for.
Okay, I concede. Once a year. Done.
Thank you.
I don't think they'll show up anyway, but I'm just saying.
I think so too. It's a completely hollow.
I was saying that earlier.
Okay, that's lovely.
Yeah,
okay.
Earlier I said it could be 2 meetings a year, but nobody shows up. I mean, that's so then it's saying no. Well, it's not. The thing is, you are seeing it in your immediate context of your immediate area, no doubt. But we have to look at it from a general point of view of licensing premises.
I understand.
And
we will organize year in January. Fine.
Is for those premises on
Dory, we can't
each
hear you.
case,
Keep
and
cracking
we
up.
do it from a borough perspective. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing.
Chair, you're breaking up. We cannot hear you.
Okay, that's all I want to say is that we cannot take into account the fact that you. Yeah, and the other thing is that Mr. Newcomb, you've also realised that rights. Oh, that's no good.
I can't hear
sorry,
you.
I'm going to check in just a minute.
We can't
Right.
hear you, Dory.
Shall I take over?
What's the time now? It's 11:08. Should we give him 2 minutes to reconnect? 11:10.
Okay. Yep. Fine. Dory, you're back, but you've
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
I can hear.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. It happened earlier as well while we're preparing, but then I just switched. Yeah, I had to do the same thing. So I was just saying, I think that we are looking at it on a borough-wide basis. How we handle it in general, we can't. Yes, it's a premises license. Therefore, if you sell the premises to someone or pass the premises to someone else, then those licensing terms will still apply. So that person could be a completely different operator from you, and therefore we have to bear that in mind as well. So it's not so much a personal matter; it's to try to be proportional to the premises in the location, not how you react, how you interact. The fact that you live there and you have businesses there is excellent, and ensures, no doubt, that you are and continue to be a good operator. But we have to consider the fact also that it's not permanent in terms of your being there.
I fully understand it, and
So
of course,
please don't take it personally. It's not personal.
I don't. Well, business is personal, but fine. I
Yes,
fully
it
understand.
is, but not the license.
Right.
Okay, well,
But for now, I'm still here, so at least there is some extra guarantee, I think, that things will be okay, in order, compliant, and up to scrap.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just one final thing, Chair. So we touched on temporary licenses, and can you just remind me, Mr. Newcomb, what your view on that was, just so if the committee were minded to go down that route for the off sales, can you just remind me?
Right. Well, Mr. Van Newcomb, are you will you did say, but just to confirm, you're willing to accept a 1-year license to test, and then you could just reapply when the year was up, 11 months were up. Is that correct? Can we take that into consideration?
Well, we just went into the minutia, right? We conceded the phone number, we conceded one meeting.
Yeah.
We admit lots of opportunity if I'm a completely rogue operator to complain about me and make that known to the council. I would say that the temporary license will not add to that at all. And I would say if I would not have conceded or agreed with all the additional measures, a temporary license might be appropriate. I think in this particular case, it is not. And I would kindly request to grant a normal permanent license.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clear that up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right, I have finished on the draft conditions, unless anything else has cropped up that the councillors wish to seek in terms of conditions. I haven't got anything further to add.
Okay, Councillor Healy.
No, thank you.
Councillor Evans.
I was just going to say that if we gave him 11 o'clock on a Sunday, Could that be done on a temporary basis?
I would accept that.
So, but basically, you would accept a 1-year license for off sales 4 p.m. till 11 p.m. Monday to Sunday. Mr. Van Newcombe.
I don't understand that, how that is different to what was previously proposed.
No,
Sorry.
he's correct, because we can't do parts of it. You'd either do the lot or...
Yeah.
We were saying if you wanted to go for 11 o'clock on a Sunday, then we did that on a temporary basis for the whole license. Or would you be happier with, was it 10 o'clock on a Sunday and a permanent license?
I would be happy with 10 o'clock on Sunday and a permanent license.
Okay, that's fine. I think you've made it clear you prefer a permanent license rather than a temporary license. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And do their licensing officers, Ms. Johnson, do you have anything to add?
Nothing further to add, Chair. Thank you.
Governance, any comments, questions?
Nothing to add, Chairman.
Thank you. I think we've reached the end of the meeting. The committee now has all the information needed and will retire to make our decision in private session.
Yes.
And as mentioned earlier, we will not announce the decision today. Instead, the hearing on this application will be closed and the live broadcast will end shortly. A summary of the decision will be sent to the parties within 5 working days of today's hearing, and a full decision will follow as soon as possible thereafter. Thank you all for attending, and the hearing is now